The best piece of advice that I've ever received was to find my unfair advantage. Now, I encourage you to do the exact same by mastering these few coding skills that will really make you stand out as a developer. Now, the first way to do that is to be resourceful. You may notice that on every high-performing team, they have one or two developers who are the go-to guys, the ones who get stuff done, who figure it out, who are responsible for the biggest, most challenging features and the most critical and damaging bugs. I know when I worked at Microsoft, the top senior developers were really running the team, and that's because they were resourceful. They knew how to fix every single problem, not because they've done it before, but because they knew how to find the solution. They went to Stack Overflow, they went to Google, they read documentation, they consulted with their teammates, and now in this age, they're using ChatGPT. You need to be a developer who goes out of your way to figure out problems, find solutions, and not just cry when you can't figure it out immediately. You need to use the resources available to you and use them as effectively as possible. Now, one of the easiest ways to be resourceful today is to know how to use AI tools like ChatGPT, specifically to know what they're good at, how to prompt properly, and when to be cautious of the responses it's giving you. Now, fortunately for you, our video sponsor HubSpot has a completely free resource called How to Use ChatGPT at Work that teaches you exactly that. It gives you a comprehensive overview of how ChatGPT works, the best practices when using it, and some expert insights that will really help you take it to the next level. You can check it out for free from the link in the description. Now, this resource shares a ton of knowledge and even gives you 100 actionable prompts that you can use to leverage the full power of ChatGPT. Knowing how to use something like this is really a game changer, and it will completely level you up as a developer. Now, this resource and many other free resources are provided by our video sponsor HubSpot. Massive thank you to them, and make sure to check this out from the link in the description. Now, the next skill you need to master is version control. Now, I'm not just talking about basic Git, creating commits, adding to the staging area. I'm talking about having a true, deep understanding of Git and how it works, and being able to use that understanding to solve complex errors that are bound to happen in complex development cycles. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with a developer who understands the basics of Git. They know how to add, commit, and really push to a new branch. Beyond that, though, they're completely lost. They run into merge conflicts, they have issues rebasing and merging, they have a completely messed up history, and it just makes it an absolute nightmare. If you're the developer that understands Git deeply, knows how to do things like cherry pick commits, switch over to deploy branches, take specific commits from one area to another area, restore code to a previous state, all of those advanced features, which is really where Git comes in handy, you are going to stand out, and you'll notice that people will be coming to you with all of their Git issues. Trust me, this is a massive skill to learn, and developers that know this absolutely stand out. Now, the next thing you need to master is data structures and code efficiency. Oftentimes, when you're writing code, you're not going to be implementing a heap or a linked list, but you're going to use things that you would have learned from those types of topics to build more efficient data structures specifically for retrieval or access of information. A lot of times when you're working in large systems, you're going to have a ton of data, and you need to come up with creative and clever ways to access and manipulate that data that doesn't cost a lot of resources, memory, storage, whatever it may be. I can tell you, as someone who's been working a lot on back-end systems recently, coming up with creative data structures, using creative indexing methods, and having a good knowledge of those baseline data structures really does make you stand out and allows you to produce code that other people just don't know how to make. They don't have that insight, they don't know how to do things efficiently, and they don't necessarily know the implications of the ways in which they're storing data. Trust me, this is important. Learn this skill. Now, the next skill you need to master is scripting and automation. Now, this can be in any language or technology that you want, but having the ability to work with the file system, quickly understand how you can write a simple script that doesn't need to be the cleanest code in the world, that can automate a quick task, that can save developers even 10, 20 seconds every time they open the code base is a massive skill. I remember one of the best developers I ever worked with was really a master at scripting. Anytime there was a task that was going to take more than, say, 5-10 minutes manually, he'd just whip up a quick script for it, and he'd save myself and him a ton of time. Anytime I had a pretty monotonous, kind of repetitive issue, I'd just message him, he'd whip up a script, and it really made me realize how powerful that skill is, and it's been something I've been working on more and more. So trust me, understanding how to script quickly, being comfortable in a language like Python, Bash scripting, even something like Node.js is really, really powerful. It will make you stand out, and most of all, it's going to save you a ton of time. Next, asynchronous programming. Now, this is something that most developers have a rudimentary knowledge of, but I'm talking about really truly understanding this and knowing the techniques and best practices to write the most efficient code possible. Oftentimes, when you get into larger systems, you have a ton of different calls that are being made asynchronously. Now, you want to know how to synchronize those calls so you can eventually grab all of the data from them, how to handle different errors, how to do things like timeouts, and how to run those calls kind of in parallel or truly asynchronously, so you're really taking advantage of that asynchronous code. I won't go into this too far, but I really recommend that you brush up on your skills here and understand the depths of your language and whatever asynchronous kind of framework that you're using. Moving on, we have CI and CD. Now, this is something that's typically reserved for more of a DevOps type role, but in a smaller team setting or where you don't have access to that individual, knowing how to do continuous integration and continuous deployment is an absolute game changer. This will absolutely make you stand out and is a skill that most developers don't learn until they're pretty much forced to do it. If you can have even just basic understanding of how to run automated test cases, how to use GitHub Actions, how to do a simple automatic deployment, this is going to save yourself and your team a massive amount of time and make you a huge asset wherever you're working. Now, lastly, clear, concise, and accurate communication. I can't tell you how frustrating it is when you have to go back and forth with someone 10, 20, 30 times simply because of a misunderstanding. Learning how to write precisely, accurately, and even sometimes a bit verbosely intentionally really makes you stand out and will help you a ton. What I mean by that is when you're writing a paragraph, when you're sending an email, when you're doing a voice note, whatever it is that you're sending, you're being very, very intentional to make sure there's no misunderstanding and you are 100% completely clear in what it is that you're saying. This is something I've been practicing for a long time and that I'm still improving at day by day, but I try to make sure every time I explain something, especially if I want someone to do a task for me, that I'm being as clear as possible and they can get every single requirement, every piece of information, and there's absolutely no ambiguity in what it is that I'm saying to them. Just something to consider, something I would definitely recommend practicing, and you'll notice how much faster your workflow speeds up when you don't need to constantly be going back and forth, hopping on calls, clarifying. That doesn't need to happen when you are as precise and accurate as you can possibly be in the first kind of chain of communication. So with that said, guys, we'll wrap it up here. I hope you found this valuable. If you like this type of content, subscribe to my channel, check out some other videos, and of course, let me know what you thought in the comments down below.